We're going to do kind of 2 in 1. I'm going to do some younger children pieces in this session that are for Christmas with Orff instruments. And then after we have a 15-minute break, I'm going to continue that and do 2 pieces with Orff instruments that are for a little bit older children. And one of them actually has a chord change, and so they have to be able to hear the chord change, and we'll do that kind of thing. So we're going to start today with a song I feel like is fairly simple, and I'd like for you to just come out here. Come on out here. I don't do a whole lot of sitting in chairs.
Thank you.
Yesterday. How many of you were here yesterday? Okay, yes. So we don't do tours of sitting in chairs, but if you need to sit down, you certainly can do that. And if you're here for a little while and then you decide you're going to go sit, that's fine too. Or if you even want to pull up a chair into the circle and sit. Some people did that yesterday and it was fine. It doesn't matter whether you're 5. No, it does. There's this time at about age 7 or 8, when you say to get in a circle, everybody starts making the circle without the teacher. Come here. The teacher doesn't bite. A circle. Come here. Come on. Yay. Thank you, Meredith. Thank you. Oh, I got to get your name. Oh, yes, Karen. Nice to see you. Good. So I'm going to do a little more with solfege for just a minute. So, mi, do, do, do. So, mi, do, do, do. Do, re, mi, re, do. Do, re, mi, re, do. Do, so, do, do, do. Do, so, do, do, do. Could you do this with me? Just copy it when you have it. Dum, dum, and not too fast. That's very nice. The children have to have a rhythmic context in order to keep the beat. If you don't have a rhythmic context here, they'll get all over the place and crazy. So stop for a second. If you ever say, okay, everybody, let's keep the beat, and you do this, if you've ever taught music, you work with children a lot, and then just go, yeah, we're keeping the beat, everybody. So what happens? It just gets crazy. But if you have some kind of a context, even if it's just saying beat, beat, steady, beat, 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 steady, beat, that helps a lot. Good. I'm going to change it, and I want you to watch for the change and join me when you have the pattern. I'm thinking y'all are about 3rd grade, maybe. If you have 2nd graders in the group, they'll come along. They can do this too. If you have a couple 1st graders, they can probably even come along, but this will be tricky for them. You'll see why in a second. Okay, we got the pattern. Ready and stop. Good. When we did this, how many different things are there in this pattern?
Two.
There are 2. Yeah. There's a pattern.
Thank you. When somebody answers that question, I will take the answer.
Mark, you were great. Okay, so there are 2. And then when I did this, how many are in the pattern? There are 3 things in the pattern. The song we're going to do today has 3 in it. It's groups of 3. And it's actually going to be a little faster than we just did, so I wonder if we can go a little bit faster. Watch me, and when you have it, join me. Because we're church, because we're just going to go, ding dong, the Christmas bells ring, Jesus is born, rejoice and sing. Okay? I'll sing a little, you sing it back. Ding dong, the Christmas bells ring, ding dong, the Christmas bells ring. Jesus is born, stand up differently. So it's making 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Very nice. Ding dong, the Christmas bells ring. Ding dong, the Christmas bells ring. Jesus is born, rejoice and sing. Jesus is born, rejoice and sing. Here we go. Ding dong, the Christmas bells ring. Jesus is born, rejoice and sing. Ding dong, the Christmas bells ring. Jesus is born, rejoice and sing. Now we're going to take the show on the road for a minute. So can you actually walk to that beat while you sing the song? Ready? Get ready to move. And here we go. It's a walk and walk, walk and walk. Not in a circle though, all around the room. This is Orff class. We do crazy things. Very nice. Good. If I had temple blocks, I'd be playing temple blocks on this. You know what? And stop. You know what though? I do have a hand drum. Because I brought hand drums. So I'm going to just play a drum on that thing. They'll just ready and move. 1, 2. That is it. Here we go. Ding dong, the Christmas bells ring. Jesus is born, rejoice and sing. Ding dong, the Christmas bells ring. Jesus is born, rejoice and sing. Good. Why am I having you move around while you do this?
Hopefully to internalize the beat.
Yes, hopefully to internalize the beat. Exactly. Right. So
Hey, you're 2 for 2.
And is this easy or hard? It's kind of hard. It is kind of hard. Slower is more difficult than fast. So this is kind of tricky. And you guys are doing way better than little bitty children.
But they want to move.
They want to move. They
But not
really
like we
do.
want them to.
Yeah, they're not always at the same time. They
Yeah,
want to
exactly.
move. Yeah. But they do want to move. And so it's really good for internalizing the beat and for letting them feel that. So we started with something familiar, right? 3 is not as familiar in our culture.
Oh, yeah.
It really isn't. We don't hear that much in 3. So then I went to this, and I started kind of slowly so you could get the pattern. What's hard about this pattern, besides the fact that it's 3 things? The snapping, that's exactly right. Good morning, Michael. The snapping is tricky. And first graders don't really know how to snap yet. Second graders are kind of getting it. By 3rd grade, most kids can do it. If they say, I can't snap, you just say, then just make it. Just do the best you can.
Then it does have problems.
They could, but yeah, it doesn't matter. Anything else. But I also want them to try snapping. I want them to keep working. Because a lot of times, if they're, if they see that everybody else has it, or, several of them, they want to practice it. So they'll go home and try it. And they'll finally get to it. So I want them to learn how to do that too. Good. So we've got this feeling of 3. Let's come to the Orff instruments. So we'll fill these up. And actually, let's see, we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We can put 2 each.
Yeah, 2 months of the Orff instruments.
And I just realized we're going to try these yellow mallets on the base of the telephone. There are yellow mallets and there are blue ones for that. The alto for telephone. And I was talking to people before y'all came in today, so at the very, very beginning, and I was saying, I didn't realize when the Alleluia conference was getting going, I didn't realize that today was kind of a different day. And I knew today was Children's Day, but I didn't know what that meant. What it means is that there are 3 clinicians today. Did y'all know that? Did you really want to be? Oh, I'm glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here. But because of that, I really kind of wish I put tomorrow's sessions today. Because tomorrow I'm going to do a thing where we really introduce the Orff instruments, several different activities with that. And beginning, so it's going to show like beginning, middle, and then more advanced with Orff instruments for church. So come back. How many of you are coming back tomorrow? I'm just curious. Okay. So some of you are just here for today. In that case, we're going to do a little introductory kinds of stuff, because we have time, we can make that work. So, the way I do this with children, because most of us, I don't know if my eye is watering for some reason, I'm really not crying. A lot of times at your church, you'll have 10 instruments, or you might have 8 instruments, and you've got 16 children. So one of the things we do, Michael, come on down if you want to play. And one of the things I do is have the children have partners. So if you were still out here, I would just number you off 1 through 10. Okay? So go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
8.
9, 10,
and then you'd be 1,
2, 3.
and Michael would be 4 if he comes, and Charles would be 4 if he comes down. Okay? And then I'll say, ones, go choose your instrument. Okay? And so the ones, and they almost always choose the bass, and they share that instrument, so they go there. And then twos go, and they choose whichever instrument they want. And then threes, and then fours, and then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And hopefully by the end, we've got one person at the instrument instead of 2. So that's how we get there, and they know they have a partner, which means that. So Debbie, would you be partners with Misty? And Barbara, you partners with Adrienne? Is that how that's working? Is there anybody else who doesn't have their own instrument? Wow, we are really, really in good shape. So that every so often I'll have y'all switch.
You want me
And one more
someplace?
thing, absolutely.
Okay, wherever.
Join. Why don't you come be with Kristen, be Kristen's partner, or Melissa's partner, it'll be easy to get there. And would somebody hand me a pair of mallets from the bucket? The match, thank you. Okay, good.
I have a
And
question.
so, sure.
Do you wait and pass these out after?
No.
Do you get the, do they start
I
playing?
tell them to put the mallets down. Now, at school, I have to tell you, I'm a little more lenient at church, but not tons more lenient at church. Because we have to get stuff done, we only meet once a week, we've got to get everything done, especially if we're going to play in church. And my children's ensemble did play in church a few times. So it's the rule, you get there, and you sit like this.
Okay.
Your instrument. That is the rule that I have. And usually, by 3rd grade, I don't have to worry about that anymore. Because in 1st grade, it's really tricky because they want to play. And I'll say, you know, we're all going to get to play, so just hang in there. And we get to the instruments. By the time they get into the routine, when you have to trust the routine, because at first it takes a little time, but then it gets faster and faster, and it's just good to have that, to establish that routine. The other thing is, I don't go around and take all the bars off the instruments. The kids will do that too. So I'll show you how that works in just 1 second. All right, so they get to the instruments, they sit like this, and then I'll say, okay, everybody, pick up your mallets. And you're going to hold your mallets between your thumb and your pointer finger. Just like this, okay? And Charles, y'all can get a pair of mallets too if you want them. The extra people, or you can just watch.
Oh,
good. Hold them here, and they should be able to wiggle. But do you feel how it's not in control? It doesn't feel in control. That's because these fingers can help. And the way they're going to help is to wrap around the rest of the handle. So scoot them down just a little bit, Kristen. Scoot your fingers down a little bit so you're farther. This, when you wrap your hands around, there should only be that, just a little bit, like an inch of tail at the bottom, okay? And when you wrap these fingers around, it shouldn't be tight. It should be pretty loose so they can still wiggle. Everybody wiggle your mallets for me. Oh, that looks really, really good. Those are hard to wiggle, though, aren't they, Barb? Because they're so short. Yeah. Good, that looks great. Be my cupcake. Okay, and we're going to do mirroring. So when I go this way, you also go this way. This way. we're all going to get back to me on Christmas bells. We're going to make a few minutes. Okay? Here we go. Let's hear it. Ah, there we go. Good. Something we would have already explored with their voices, so they understand the difference between high and low. I know a few of you were here yesterday and we talked about how they have to understand that before they can really do much with matching pitch. Okay, switch partners then. And this time I want you to play the sounds that are here. Here we go. And play the sounds that are here. And these. We already know that these sounds are kind of in the middle, right? Play those again. These are the middle sounds. That's middle. Where are the high sounds on your instrument? Show me. Yeah, that doesn't happen. Okay. Usually they're not quite sure, but we have to do a couple of other things to figure it out. But the high sounds are here. Play the high sounds for me on your instrument, Jeannie. Let's hear your high sounds, Melissa. Let's hear yours, Miss. Okay. Let's hear the high sounds on this instrument. Yeah, and the high sounds on yours. Great. Very nice. Everybody play the high sounds again. And now where are the low sounds on your instrument? Ooh. Nice. Let's hear the low sounds on yours here. And let's hear yours, Kristen. Okay. Let's hear yours one. Yeah, good. Okay, everybody play the low sounds again. And now we have a B. And on some of your instruments, it says H equals B. I'm going to tell you why. You can tell the kids as much of this as you want. You know what? They take in this information and it's interesting to them. So I just tell them, those instruments that say H equals B are made in Germany. And in Germany, the second letter of the music alphabet looks like our H. Did y'all know that?
Mm-hmm.
B is B flat for them. And the second letter of the music alphabet is H. You know the famous the famous Bach, piece, right? So there it is. That's it. For us, that's a B. Now, if we lived in Germany, that would be the H for us. But since we live in the United States, that is a B. So everybody point to the A again. And the next letter is B. And then C. Wait a minute, have we already had a C? We did at the very beginning, so we've got another C. We're going to call that first C, C1. We're going to call this one C2, even if it has different marks on it. I'm not going to pay any attention to the marks that are on the letters. Do you see what I'm talking about? In Orff work, we call this C1 and we call this C2. And that's what it is on the altos. On some of the other instruments, it's got a different number. But we're not worrying about that right now. For everybody, it's C1 and C2. And then you have a D2? You do. And how about E2? And F2? Yeah? And G2? And what else? A2. Do some of you keep going? Now, what do you have there, Mark?
B, C.
That's a B2. And then you have a C. What? 3. That's your third C. So you guys have more bars than everybody else. All right? That's pretty neat. Okay. So I do a drill where I say, okay, everybody point to C1. C2. And everybody can do this. Both partners can do this. Okay, G1. D2. That's a hard one. Okay, good. And then F1. B2. Not everybody has it, do you? Okay.
You're all
Yeah, you got it. Yeah, y'all know.
I look at
Okay, all right.
these two.
And E1 and G2. Good. Bless you. So you've got that. Good. Very nice. Now I want everybody to go back to the beginning at the low part and go C, D, E. You see those 3 pitches. And then the next note is what? F. We're not going to use F for this song we're about to play. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to put, oh, look at Mark. He's already got it. You see how Mark has one hand at the top and one hand at the bottom of the bar? And he's going to lift it straight up. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark has successfully taken off bar without damaging the head. So that's what you want to do. And tell them that. And I always have a child demonstrate that we go straight up and we go very slowly. The first 3 or 4 or 5 times they come, you have to remind them of that. And intermittently throughout, because they sometimes forget that they have to do that. What happens if they pull off the bar without doing that? See that little peg right there? You know what can happen? It can get broken off. And it can be fixed, but it's a pain to fix it. You don't want that to happen. So it's really important for them to learn to be safe with that. Okay, fine, G1 and A. We're using those 2. The next note, though, is that B, and we're not using B today. So with 2 hands looking straight up, take it off. Good. It's trickier with these 2 and walking scales, but there you go. Yeah, you're going to have to do a little wiggling with them, but you got it. Good. All right. And then you have your C2, C, D, E, and the next note is F with 2 hands. Take that off. Good job. And then you have G and A, and y'all all set. You guys have one more B. So with 2 hands looking straight up, take off that B. And I know you have a bar. I noticed that. Yeah, I actually took your D2 and gave it to the soprano one. Oh, that one, because it was missing it, and you definitely need it. Y'all don't need D2, but you need D1 as well. Okay? Good. Would everyone point to C1 with your left hand? That's tricky. The one on this side, got it? And G1 with your right hand. And just play like this. Bounce, 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 bounce. Oh, that's lovely. I can't even hear that. Bounce, bounce, ready, and stop. Good. Now pick up your mallets. I don't know whose turn it is, but whichever person's turn it is. Okay. Find C1 and G1. Let's keep the beat on those. Ready, and 1, 2. Jesus is born, rejoice and sing. Beautiful. Good. Would you play that? You know what, Charles? You could play these two. And we can get another chair.
Yes, please.
Let's grab that chair right there.
Otherwise, I'll be doing this.
Let's scoot Debbie's down and we have this thing perfect. Good. Because you know, for this piece, this is going to work this one. All right? Yeah, y'all got them too. Good. Let's do this. So partners can play at the same time if you have mallets. So Debbie, you can just play right there. Do you have mallets?
No.
Oh, okay. Somebody grab her first. You can have these. Good. Here we go.
Ding dong, the Christmas bells ring. Jesus is born, rejoice and sing. Ding dong, the Christmas bells ring. Jesus is born, rejoice and sing.
Good. And you know what, Charles, use these. Those are a little too hard for the bass.
Yeah.
There you go.
Question for you.
Yes.
I have never been successful in you work as well. Maybe you tell me. I've had kids sing and play at the same time.
Okay.
Do you?
Yes.
Okay.
And here's what, starting in first grade, they sing while they keep the beat. And
I've done
they
that
say,
as well, but it's
"Yes,
never
my
really
great
helped.
great."
They quit singing. It's just me singing.
Okay, then don't sing. You don't sing. And you tell them it's their job. Stop them if they're not singing. And just tell them it's your job to sing while you're playing. Because you know what else happens? Remember I said children have to have a context for that beat? If they're not singing, they don't have a context. Even if you're singing for them, while they're concentrating on this, they lose it. Have you ever had kids go like this? And they're not on the beat at all? Sometimes when I go over and say, ding dong, and have them start singing with me, they get right back on it. So it's that they're focusing so hard on playing those two bars that they forget what the song is for a second. But they have to be reminded, but it's really important for them to sing while they play. Unless, tomorrow we're going to play some pieces that are too hard to do that. Honestly, they are. They're all going to learn the song, and they're all going to learn the instrument parts, but then we're going to get to a place where some people sing and other people play, because the parts are just a little too hard. Okay? All right, so here we go. One more time, do that same thing. Here we go.
Ding dong, the Christmas bells ring. Jesus is born, rejoice and sing. Ding dong, the Christmas bells ring. Jesus is born, rejoice and sing.
Everybody find the C and the G, and then just play the C by itself. C and G, the C and G by itself. That's a G. Okay, so let's start right together. So it'll be both, one, both, one. Here we go.
Ding dong, the Christmas bells ring. Jesus is born, rejoice and sing. Ding dong, the Christmas bells ring. Jesus is born, rejoice and sing.
Good. Very nice. Now would you find C and E too? The second C and E. C and E too. Good. It's looking good. And then would you find G and E too? That's tricky. Okay, so you're way up there at the top. G and E. And could you play that 4 times? So all the way up to the G, the high G and the high E. Right there.
I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
G and E. Good. And would you play the G and E 4 times? Here we go. You can try these. 2, 3, 4. Good. Now you're going to switch, and you're going to have E and C. Why don't you play those 4 times? Here you go. Yeah, you got these
That's
two.
a lower one.
So it's these 2.
No, she wants
And then it's these 2. You don't have a D to give you it's a visual
I don't know whether
context.
these are 1 or 2.
Okay, so ready? So now would you play, would you play G and E 4 times, and then immediately play E and C 4 times. So it'll go like this. Ding, 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 dum, dum. Like that. Here we go. Do that again. And very nice, good job. Now would you just play 2 times up here and 2 times down here? So it'll be G and E Good. And now, can you play them one time each? We'll slow it down just a little bit. So it's going to go plum, 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 plum. Here we go.
Jesus is born, rejoice and sing. Ding dong, the Christmas bells ring. Jesus is born, rejoice and sing.
Very nice. Good. Would you guys play that part while y'all go back to the C and G, C, C and G, C? You know what? Can I have the altos also play C and G, C? That part. Here you go. Ready? Here we go.
Ding dong, the Christmas bells ring. Jesus is born, rejoice and sing. Ding dong, the Christmas bells ring. Jesus is born, rejoice and sing.
Good, very nice. Now this part is a little strange, but it's kind of cool. Find C and E, and then go up to G and A. So it's going to actually be, when the real part is here, it's going to be C and E 1, and then G and A 1. So it's going to go like this. It's going to go C and E, G and A. Could you try that with me? C, and then it's G and A. Isn't that interesting? C and E. It's right. It sounds interesting. C and E, then G and A, C and E, and G and A. Good. So it's going to go like this. Lum, 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 lum. Just like that. Here we go. C, G,
Christmas bells ring. Jesus is born, rejoice and sing. Ding dong, the Christmas bells ring. Jesus is born, rejoice and sing.
Good. We may want to resolve that to a C. So we've got 3 parts now, and I think that's what we're going to have for right now anyway. So let's go back, and we definitely want the bass. We want this part, and we also want that up here. So that one. Over here, Debbie, you play this part. And Misty, you play this one. Okay? And Mark, you're going to play this one. And everybody else would, no, hold on. Yeah, you guys, the soprano xylophones, and, so do y'all know the names of these instruments? I'm just saying them like you do. The soprano, those are, okay, well, we'll talk about that in a minute. Soprano, you need to know that if you're going to be teaching her. Okay, so the soprano xylophones are going to play the new C and E, G and A part, C and E, G and A. And let's also have Kristen, and I've already forgotten, I'm
Oh, she's
sorry.
turning around, sorry.
That's okay, Karen, mine does too, see? They keep doing it. Y'all play the, also play the C and E, G and A. I'm not switching them. And y'all play the E and G, and the E and C. I mean, your G and the E and C. Got it? Okay? Let's layer those parts in. So should I tell y'all what you're doing? You're going to play.
Short-term memory.
And you're going to play. Okay? So let's start with everybody who's playing the C and E, I mean C and G, C. Okay? The drone, in other words. Here you go. Tempo. Let's keep the beat together. Next part. And then this part.
Ding dong, the Christmas bells ring. Jesus is born, rejoice and sing. Ding dong, the Christmas bells ring. Jesus is born, rejoice and sing.
Now the neat thing about this is, y'all start, you come in second just with the singing, just sing the song. Here we go, ding dong,
The Christmas bells ring. Jesus is born, rejoice and sing. Ding dong, the Christmas bells ring. Jesus is born, rejoice and sing.
Jesus is born, rejoice and sing. Where you start to hear the sound of the church bells, kind of, you know how they clash sometimes? And this has definitely got that sound. But one more thing. How 2, group 3, and group 4. And it's going to come in center. So we're going ding dong, ding dong, ding ding. You ready?
Ding dong, the Christmas bells ring. Jesus is born, rejoice and sing. Ding dong, the Christmas bells ring. Jesus is born, rejoice and sing.
Jesus is born, rejoice and sing. Rejoice and sing. Good. We lost part 2 somehow. Let's do that one more time in the 4-part round. Here you go. Ready?
Ding dong,
Okay, the
the
group part's
Christmas
Charles.
bells.
That's
Oh, I
part
am?
one.
Oh.
Yes. So this is part 2.
Oh, I thought you meant
Four,
like
part
this.
2. Nope, right here.
Okay,
This one.
okay.
Here we go.
Ding dong, the Christmas bells ring. Jesus is born, rejoice and sing. Jesus is born, the Christmas bells ring. Jesus is born, rejoice and sing. Jesus is born, rejoice and sing.
Rejoice and sing. Now, what I would do with this piece would be to have, I hope we would have twice as many kids. I mean, wouldn't that be great if we all had twice as many kids? And so we have half say the Orff instruments and half come sing. And then they need to switch, because everybody gets to do everything. And this piece is pretty simple because it's really just a long, steady beat. You know, it's just it's the dotted quarter note in 6/8. So it's pretty easy. Okay, but what I'm going to ask you to do, adults, is to play your parts, sing it in unison, and then the 2-part round at 4 beats, and then the 4-part round at 2 beats. Okay, does that make sense? So everybody will sing in unison, and we'll stop if we need to. And then you just keep playing your part, but look up, and I'll just divide you so that y'all will be group 1 in the 2-part round. So it'll be ding dong, the Christmas bells ring. Ding dong, the Christmas bells ring. And then when they get done, I'll come back and look at you 4 and go ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. Okay, got it?
So I'm in 2.
You're
I just got out of the 3rd grade, I have no idea.
You've done square dancing, and one of my kids went, who's part 2 and 2-part round? Who's part 4 and 4-part round? We were just joking around. And so then I adopted that, and we all started doing that. So who's part 1 in the 4-part round? Who's part 2 in the 4-part round? Who's part 1 in the 2-part round? Oh, wow, that's confusing. All right, so here we go. We'll layer those parts in, and then we'll sing it in unison again. So here we go. With all the toes. And you'll come in second. So Debbie is C and G, and then C by itself. And you turn things over this way. Good. That's it. Perfect. Okay, one more time. Here you go. So like triangles, Karen, can you grab the triangles back there? And y'all find anything that rings. We have wind chimes, triangles, finger symbols, all those kinds of things. I don't think we have that many, but what we do have are metal instruments. So here's what y'all are going to do at the beginning. I want you to find, whoops. Just any 2 bars. And it doesn't have to be on the beat. I want it to be random. So can we get a couple people to take a triangle? And you're going to do things kind of like this. Just, we have the strikers.
Yeah, let me see. I didn't see them in the.
Maybe not. And we can, you know what, we can use the handles of mallets, we sure can.
Okay, so
Let's do that. Yeah, if you've got a wooden, like if you turn that on, yeah. So it's kind of like randomly, and just the metal instruments. Glockenspiels, y'all can play too, just kind of randomly on your instrument, softly. Hey, let's start with the triangles. This is hard for adults. It's not as hard for children because they like choosing when to do things. For adults, we're like, where's the beat? I want the beat. And like, we want structure. This is music. We want structure. Just random. Keep playing. I don't need to stop. And then let's just add a little glockenspiel here and there. Just a little glockenspiel. Just real softly. Julie, same thing. So they've got all those different possibilities. And they could come in, they could enter, maybe with the random and everything. Have y'all ever done that with Pentecost at your church with the bells and all of that? It's so magical somehow, I don't know. But to come in with the bells and the ringing and then eventually just start the beat and come up with that. Okay, any questions?
With your kindergartner, first grade, you still have them
Oh,
in the
this is
bar?
not kindergarten
Okay.
for me. I usually don't start work instruments until at least first grade.
So if you had kindergartners, you would have to probably set it up for them. And
Or I
have them
would-
not, you would,
Yeah,
okay.
or I would have them play something else. I don't want them to be bored, but I definitely put them as a partner with somebody else. Just out of curiosity, how many of you have, tell me ways that your groups are arranged in by ages?
Kindergarten.
Kindergarten through fifth?
Kindergarten through fifth.
All right.
Kindergarten through first.
Kindergarten first. With kindergarten
Basic
first,
too.
I would do more with unpitched percussion than I would with work instruments. K through 5, go on and just let them do the best they can do, and just let them start, because we want them to be involved. I don't want them to feel. But when I taught school, I didn't start work instruments until first grade, and sometimes it wasn't even until after the second semester. It wasn't until the second semester, depending on whether they were ready. Look, I'll just say this real fast, and then we need to go. But in order to play the work instruments, here's what children need to be able to do. Mark, this goes back to your question. They need to be able to keep the beat while they say an easy chant on their body. They need to be able to keep the beat. So, hey, children, who's in town? Everybody stop and look around. Or peas, porridge, hot. They need to be able to keep the beat on their body. They also need to be able to keep the beat on something like a hand drum with a mallet or a woodblock, because that's harder than your own body. You have to think about how to hold the mallet. You have to hit in a certain place. So that's a harder task. They need to be able to do that first too. And even to play tempo blocks and things like that first. Then they're ready for work instruments. Why are work instruments harder?
Throwing in pitch.
You're throwing in pitch. So you're having to aim is exactly for the C and the G. Whereas on the drum, you're just hitting a big surface, right? And the older the kids are, the younger the kids are, the larger the instruments need to be, because their fine motor skills won't allow them to play those. So put the little children on the bigger instruments. If you've got those contrabass bars, put them on the contrabass bar, especially if they can keep the beat. You want it to be there. Was there a question?
Oh,
Yes.
how do you tell them to hold the mallets? Because sometimes you get that, like.
That's why I went through the thing
Okay,
about-
so you tell them to do this, and, okay, I just didn't remember the order. Okay.
And then, that's another whole an hour we didn't get to.
Right, okay.
All of that, but you're exactly right. Sometimes they'll go clunk, clunk. One thing is you don't want them to put their fingers out like this, clunk, clunk. I taught Orff level 2 this summer. I had a student who did that the entire time. I couldn't believe it.
Just a little thing.
You're not gonna take level 3.
For a little song that goes with the 28 years ago. Mallets in the air, fingers wrapped around, strings are on her elbows, on her wrists go up and down.
But your fingers don't point. Keep those fingers back.
I think I was taught the point.
Oh, don't point,
Years ago.
please. Because if you do, you're gonna get this for sure. So be sure that they hold these back. That's why I told them to do this, but I like your little, that's fine. Good.
Just a pinch, curl, fly.
Pinch, curl, fly. I like it. Pinch, curl, fly. Good. Love it. Okay? Well, we just got to one piece, and I've got 3 more Christmas pieces. But it was great time, and I hope some of you will come back so you can see the more complicated Christmas pieces. And then this afternoon, we're doing something with, we're doing a reading session, and then we're going to dramatize the parable of the sower and the seed.